Hi, this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these fun little snowman coasters. The month of January here in Colorado, all I can think about is snow. We're actually getting snow today. So you can make these with or without this edge. And the edge on the snowman is to help keep your glass from sliding around. It works great for a goblet, a regular glass, or a cocoa mug, or a coffee mug in my case. These are really simple. Now I've made these out of worsted weight number 4 Red Heart yarn. You can also make them out of cotton, and cotton's a great choice because it is more absorbent. This one, of course, is made without the edge, and this one is made with the edge. Both of them work great, and you can also make them leaving off the little snowball, hands and feet, and just make the center, and it's still a really cute snowman. So what you're going to need is some worsted weight yarn. It takes a very small amount. I'm using my Red Heart Super Saver in white. You're going to need a little bit of orange to embroidery on the nose. You're going to need a little bit of black to embroidery on the eyes. And then you're going to need a little bit of another color. Choose any color that you want. I'm going to be doing today's demonstration with pink. This one is a variegated. This one is blue teal. I've made them with regular blue, red, and green. And you can do them any color that you want to go with whatever theme you're using for your little get-together or just your everyday use. These are lots of fun to use with the grandkids too. We're going to be stitching with our H hook today. You're going to need a needle with a nice big eye to weave in your ends and embroidery on your face. And you're also going to need a pair of scissors, of course, to cut the thread. Now it does have a tiny little pom-pom on the top, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So gather you up some yarns, and we'll get started. We're going to begin by making our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 5. We have 5 chains. We're going to place 9 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. Our first 3 chains are going to count as our first double crochet. And then we'll place 9 more in the 4th chain from the hook, and this will give us a total of 10 double crochets. To make a double crochet, you yarn over, go in the stitch, and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2, and that's our first double crochet. And we're going to make 8 more double crochets in that same chain. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 2 more for a total of 10 double crochets. Okay, now you may have a hole in the center. Don't worry about it. I'll show you how to fix that when we get finished. So we have 10 double crochets counting our first 3 chains, and we're going to join to the top of that chain 3 by putting our hook through and pulling a slip stitch, not a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That's row 1, 10 double crochets. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets we just stitched. Pull out some more yarn there. We're going to place 1 in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around, and this is going to give us a total of 20 double crochets. So 2 double crochets and each double crochet around for a total of 20 double crochets. I have stitched my 20 double crochets. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now the third row, we do it just a little bit different. It's still double crochets. We're going to place 1 double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to place 1 double crochet in the next stitch. The next stitch, we're going to place 2 double crochets. And this is how we will repeat all the way around this row. We'll place 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochets in the next. So we're doing 1 and 2, 1 and 2 all the way around. And this is going to give us a total of 30 double crochets on this row. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, all the way around for row 3. So I did 30 double crochets for row 3. And at this point is where you need to decide if you want to make one that looks like this with the ridge to hold the cup, or if you want it to just be without that edge. The other thing is, if you don't want to put the little snowball feet and hands, you can skip this also. All right, so for those who are wanting to put the edge on, let me show you what you do. We're going to be stitching in the front loops of our row 3. And to understand where the front loops and back loops are on the top of your stitches, there is a braid. It looks like a braid. It's actually the chain, but it looks like a braid on the top of your work. When you're stitching in the front loop is the stitch that is closest to you. The back loop is the stitch that is facing away from you. We're going to chain 2 because we're going to be stitching half double crochets, not double crochets. And we're only going to be stitching in our front loop for this technique. So we're going to yarn over, go in just the loop of the front loop, and pull our loop through. You have 3 loops on just like you do with a double crochet. You're going to wrap your yarn over and you're going to go through all 3 of those loops. That's a half double crochet. And we're going to do this all the way around, stitching only in the front loop and stitching a half double crochet, 1 in each front loop around. Now, if you're not doing the edge to keep your cup or your glass from slipping, then you can skip this particular portion of it. One half double crochet in each front loop around. You can see I stitched 1 half double crochet in each of the double crochets around, only working in the front loop. Now, if you didn't do this, then just skip that thing that I just did. And what I'm going to do right now, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to move down and work in those back loops from row 3. So we're just going to slip stitch there. If you skipped the edge portion of this, then you're just going to stitch in the back loops of row 3, just skipping this particular step like this. Just stitch those loops around without adding the edge. Both of them are cute and work great. So we're going to be working in the back loops, and now we're going to be adding the little feet. So we're going to slip stitch in the next 5 stitches. All right, so there's my 5 slip stitches. Now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to place 3 double crochets in that same stitch that we were just working on where we chained. So we're going to go right in that same stitch. And this makes a nice little petal or ball or whatever you want to call it to make it look like a little snowball. So we did a chain 2, 3 double crochets, and chain 2. And we're going to go right back in that same stitch and slip stitch. And then we're going to repeat what we did. We're going to do 5 slip stitches and make another one. And we'll do this 3 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll repeat what we did for this little snowball. And we're going to do this, like I said, 4 more times. 5 slip stitches and a snowball, 5 slip stitches and a snowball, 5 slip stitches and a snowball, so that we have 4 snowballs. We're starting here. 5 slip stitches, a snowball, 5 slip stitches, a snowball, and we'll do this all the way around till we get our 4th snowball done. And then we'll do those last 5 and tie off. So just to make sure you understand how to do the snowball, chain 2, we're going to place 3 double crochets in that same stitch, chain 2, we go right back in that same stitch, and then 5 more slip stitches, working in the back loops of R3. So I've got my 4 little snowballs done for his hands and feet, and then I'm going to slip stitch in those last 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, there we go, 5, and then I'm going to join to that first slip stitch with a slip stitch and tie off. And that's all the white that we're going to do on our little snowman. Now, before we go any farther, I want to show you how to fix this little hole if you have one in the center. So turn your little snowman over to the back, and we're going to thread that yarn we started with. And you can see there's a little hole there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around those stitches. There we go. Around that hole where we stitched our first row. And just gently close that up. After you've gone all the way around it, give it a little bit of a pull. Just be gentle. And then I like to go back the other way just to make sure that yarn is going to stay put. There we go. And then I'll cut that off. And I'm going to go ahead and weave in the end here to the back, just going through a few stitches. There we go. One way and turn and come back the other and tie that off. So there's our little snowman. He needs a little face and he needs his little hat. So the next thing we're going to do is put on the snowman's nose. And it's just a simple little, we're going to make a little V stitch and then end it with the line on the side. Really simple. So we're going to thread our needle with the orange that we've chosen. And I start on the side of the stitch. And when we embroidery, make sure you go in the stitches, not the holes. So this is the side where my point's going to be. I'm going to pull my yarn enough that it doesn't come out, but it stays in the back. And I just put my thumb on that. And then I'm going to come up here a little bit at an angle because I'm going to make a little triangle. I get my needle to go in that stitch. There we go. And then I'm going to go a little bit farther down, trying to line that up a little bit. And then I'll go right back in that stitch. And it formed a little arrow or a little triangle. And then I'm going to make a few stitches. I usually like go right to the center and close up that nose. Fill it in. Usually takes about maybe 4 or 5 stitches. You don't want to do too many because you don't want it to be a bump that makes the glass not sit flat. So just enough to make a nice little carrot looking nose. And then we're going to go to the bottom and make a stitch that comes across to the top. So it looks like a carrot nose. Then we'll turn it over and we'll weave our ends in. And I'll just go through a few. Make sure you don't go through and show the orange coming through the white. Make sure you just weave in right underneath those stitches. And then we'll cut that off. So now he has a cute little carrot nose. The next thing we're going to do is add the eyes and the mouth. And I'm using black because I want it to kind of resemble coal. And what I do is I'll start on this end, I'll make the 3 mouth lines, and then I'll come up here and make the 2 eyes, making sure to try to keep on center. So we're going to come up. This is the center of row 2. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to hold that in the back. I'm just going to go in and out, keeping it simple. And again, make sure you're stitching in stitches, not the holes, or it won't hold good. So there's my little smile. Then I'm going to come up here. I think that eye needs to come up a little bit higher. I'm going to go back out. Because really you're eyeballing what you're doing. You can measure if you want to. All right, I think that's a better placement for that eye. And then I'm going to kind of, again, make sure it's nice and even. And there's the eyes. Super simple. Again, we're going to go to the back and just sort of, it's a little harder to tie off. So I'm just going to make a little loop. The main thing is, when it comes to embroidering these on, you don't want any bumps that's going to make your glass go wonky or it won't sit still. You don't want to have a nice glass of hot cocoa or cup of hot cocoa and have it spill out on you, especially if it's for your grandchild or your child. All right, so we're going to pull that through. There we go. I'm going to make sure I didn't pull too tight on the front. I just take my needle and kind of go like that. So there's his little face. The last thing he needs is this little hat. And we're going to use pink today for the hat. Whoops, I pulled out 2 ends. And we're still using our H hook. And this is the little hat that we're going to make. So to add your little hat, if you did one with an edge, you're going to be working in those slip stitches that you made on the back side. And really it's the same. If you're doing one like this one where it doesn't have the edge, you're still going to be working in those slip stitches on the outside of the hat. I mean the coaster. So we're going to, from this, where we ended on this snowball, we're going to count up 3 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to join to the 4th slip stitch. And we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And now we're going to place 5 half double crochets on the top in those next 5 stitches. So 1, 2. I must have stitched mine a little tight right there, huh? 3, 4, 5. So we've got 6, counting our chain 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half double crochets plus our chain 2 for a total of 6 half double crochets. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. We're going to stitch the next 2 half double crochets together, and the way we do that is we yarn over, we go through the first half double crochet and pull up a loop. Then we go in the next one and pull up a loop also. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4. Then we're going to place 1 half double crochet in the next 2 half double crochets. Then we're going to stitch the last 2 half double crochets together like we just did. So yarn over, go in that first half double crochet, pull up a loop. Then we go in that next one, and the next one is the top of our chain 2. So you're going to go in the top of that chain 2 and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all 4 of those loops. And what we did is we made our 6 stitches into 4 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. And we're going to do this again. We only have these 4 stitches, and we're going to put 2 together and 2 together. So yarn over, go in that first half double crochet, then go in the next half double crochet. Again, you've got 4 loops. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops. And we'll do that again. Pull up all 4 loops. At this point, our hat is as tall as we would like it, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to tie off. And then we're going to weave in our ends. Now, something that I did when I was stitching my initial half double crochets, I stitched over my beginning yarn. And that's a good way to do that. But it's always good to go ahead and make sure that that's nice and snug and it's not going to come out. And something that I do when I do it that way is I'll put if my yarn is too short, I'll put my needle through and I'll go ahead and weave it in by threading my needle. There we go. And just pulling it back through. Stretch it out a little. And I'll just cut off that little tail. It's okay to stitch over your stitches, stitch over that tail of yarn because it will hold it nicely, but you want to make sure that it's not going to come unraveled. So let's go ahead and weave in this top of the hat, and then I'm going to show you how to make the little pom-pom and how to attach it to your little snowman coaster. So to make a tiny little pom-pom, you're going to need a piece of yarn, maybe about 10 or 11 inches, and we're going to set that aside because that's what we're going to tie with. And then you're going to need to take some pink yarn or whatever color you're using for your hat and use your 2 fingers and just wrap it around your 2 fingers as many times as you want, about 10 or 11 times. You don't want it to be too many times or your pom-pom will be too thick and it won't lay right. I did this about 11 times. We're going to take that and set that there. Put your string this way and take that little bit that you made and we're going to tie it like this. I'm going to tie it nice and tight and give it another nice and tight. Don't pull too hard, you bust your strings though. It looks like a little bow now, doesn't it? Well, if you're making a little girl snowman, that might look kind of cute. But we're making a pom-pom. So we're going to go in those loops and cut them. Okay, now I have some might be a little uneven, so I'm going to pull those a little. And then what I do is I push them down with my hand like this. And then I take my scissors and I just cut them just like that to make them nice and even. And then I'll look at it, and if I see any sticking out that aren't perfect or the way I like it, I'll go ahead and clip them just like that. Yes, you'll have a little bit of a mess. And then what I do is I take my hook and I go through those center stitches and I pull one side of the loop through, and then I go to the second center stitch because there's 2 stitches left on the top of the hat. And we'll go 1 string through each of those stitches. And I just tie a quick little knot. I tie it 2 or 3 times to make sure that it's going to hold. And then I'll just cut that string so that it blends in with my pom-pom. Let's see if we can get some of this fuzz out of the way. And there's our little snowman. And this one's a little girl because she's wearing a little pink hat. So we've got several different ways that you can make a snowman. A snowman coaster. You could even make a snowman family. What a great gift for someone, or maybe a husband and wife who's getting married. A winter wedding. These would be great to have sitting around the table, huh? Well, anyway, this is my snowman mug coaster.